I must say I'm a little bit confused and puzzled by Prigozhin. Prigozhin is Putin's chef, the person behind the Wagner Brigade, the person apparently behind the troll farms. At the moment, it looks as if a small town in Donetsk is going to become the next Bakhmut. Avdiivka is the next target of the Russian troops. But whereas Bakhmut has been in a stalemate and surrounded by the Wagner Brigade, Avdiivka looks as if it's going to be surrounded by genuine Russian soldiers. It's south of Gorlivka, which is absolutely taken over by the Russians. Bakhmut has been attacked by Prigozhin. There's no tactical or strategic relevance to this city, this town. The number of people sacrificed for the city makes little military sense. Prigozhin's activities in Ukraine, again, that also makes very little military sense. The Wagner Brigade is running out of men, and Prigozhin has been forbidden to recruit more prisoners. Prigozhin made complaints about the shortage of ammunition just after Christmas. That was solved, and yet he continues to make complaints. And the Russian High Command has laid the seed of doubt in Putin's mind about Prigozhin's ability, demonstrated by the failure to take Bakhmut. So what do we see here? We see the infighting of the Russian side and Russian propaganda that is based solely on television, solely on the domestic market. The internet, in contrast, is controlled almost exclusively by Ukrainians. If you type into the internet Bakhmut in English or in Cyrillic script, you will get Ukrainian-based videos. And so there's a bias to the reports. YouTube has been blocked by most Russian channels. TikTok is not available in Russia. So, and Twitter is not available in Russia. So when Medvedev or Prigozhin are sending out messages, it's for the West. And why? Why? Because the Russian propaganda still remains targeted on the Russian domestic audience. And yet it's not really getting out to the Western audience, except with the mad pouts and temper tantrums of Medvedev. So what is happening? Is it possibly that Medvedev is being set up to fail? Is it possible that Medvedev has been highlighted by Putin in the same way that, for example, Stalin was highlighting people to blame if everything went wrong, and everything is going wrong? Prigozhin is the fall guy. Prigozhin is the person to blame. And, back in Russia, what do we hear? Very little about the war. The Russian economy is not failing as dramatically as it should. Not now, anyway. It's stagnating, but it's not failing. There are no budget cuts. There's no hospital cuts. Life in Russia for the majority of Russians hasn't changed. And the television is talking about a war which is aimed at NATO, the NATO aggression, the Western mercenaries. And the truth of that war is simply not getting to the Russian domestic audience at all. The sofa patriots is what they call them. The sofa patriots are not disturbed by news that they hear nightly on Russian TV channels. So why is Russia not using its enormous propaganda machine to target the West? because it doesn't need to. Because actually, the only message it wants to get across is that Prigozhin is failing, and Prigozhin will take the blame. It's a very interesting angle. I expect Prigozhin to be completely sabotaged, to be left with nowhere to go within the next month or so. Prigozhin is the fall guy for when this war becomes unwinnable for Russia.